Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will talk about a Linux project, such as a Linux distribution, desktop environment, or application. We also just chat about any variety of topics from the community. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the openSUSE project. And with me today, I got Rick, Penguin Revolution, Swift, Eris, Jinda, Ulfnick, Ben, Mark, and Prophetic, who snuck in. His camera's dark, but I like it. It's kind of spooky. So I like that. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Great.
Pretty good. No complaints.
Good.
Ausgezeichnet, as some would say. Be sure to do the straw poll. There's actually 2 straw polls about how you use your touchpad. This is going to be a fun one to see how the response is. I know how I like to use my touchpad, and I'm interested in seeing if I'm the weirdo or if I'm somewhere in the middle. My guess is I'm probably the weirdo, so this will be fun. So on the docket for today, we're going to go over that straw poll, do our news flight night, see what's on the menu for next week, and do our last call. But first, what's something cool that we're doing in Linux? Now, this is brought by Ulfnick, or however I'm going to mispronounce it this time, that I thought was really awesome. You suggested in the Matrix a YouTube channel called Unordinary People, which I subscribed because the very first episode I watched was on Jill from the TuxDigital network on Destination Linux. And how did you find this?
Well, it was just posted on the forum by the person who did the interview, who's short films tall people. He's a member of the TuxDigital community. It seems he has a YouTube channel. This is the first time I've ever heard about it. And he just happened upon Jill, and he did an interview. So yeah, it's an awesome interview. I really recommend anybody check it out. Basically, it's Jill talking, a lot about FOSS history as she does, but also how she came up through FOSS and her experiences, both personally and as part of her career. And it's just fascinating. I mean, it's just, there's so much detail to it. So, if you're a fan of Jill or you're just a fan of FOSS history, and how things have evolved over time, really recommend giving it a check out. It's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I only listened to about half of it, and I thought it was really neat to see, one, to hear how she started on the Apple II in the late 70s. She got a Commodore 64, which, of course, made me all excited when I heard that because, I'm old. And it was really interesting to hear how she learned the different 3D drawing applications, and how even like her first computer, I think it was her first one, how she wanted to draw on it immediately, that's what she wanted to do. And it was really great just to see the kind of that whole part of her life and how she got into doing what she does now. Although she's, I guess, retiring or in the process of retiring out of doing it full time, so she's doing more what she just wants to do, which that's what retirement is. I think you stop doing what you have to do and you do what you want to do. But yeah, it was a great interview. I really enjoyed it. Has anybody here seen that or subscribed to that Unordinary People YouTube channel? Or is this the first? If it's the first, then Eris, you did. So that's great. Yeah, I super enjoyed. I'm going to finish the interview because I ran out of time because of the show. But yeah, it was just such a fun listen. And I just really enjoyed Jill. I'm a huge Jill fan, quite honestly. Just listening to her, brings a smile to my face immediately, and yeah, so I'm kind of a fanboy of Jill, I suppose, a fan old man, I suppose. What it was a interesting, her first experiences with computers and whatnot, and like Swift. I think I can't pinpoint your age, but I think you're somewhere probably a little bit younger than me. What was your first computer that you touched?
The first computer I had, I would say, I'm thinking it was a Pentium 4.
Okay.
And it had a gig of RAM, and it had an 80 gig hard drive and a 10 gig hard drive.
Okay,
And so
that's great.
initially, when I installed Linux on it, it was a CD. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I think I still have some Pentium 4s, so if you need one, let me know. I can probably send one to you just for, nostalgic sake. I'm curious, Jinda, what was your first computer that really brought you into like,
TI 99 4A.
wow, I've never touched one of those. Well, I've seen them like at Vintage Computer Fest, but I've never actually like played with one of those. How was the keyboard? How was typing on it?
It was okay considering. You can still run it today on a web browser. I'll put the link in the chat. You can run most of the games and most of the software it came with and program it if you want to try it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a good little computer. It was made by Texas Instruments, and Texas Instruments went in the computer business and then went out of the computer business.
Right.
But
They're kind of still in it though, sort of.
Yeah,
The
sort of.
BeagleBone is a single board computer you can buy from Texas Instruments. Actually, it's probably my favorite for any kind of controlling things. Like the lights on my house, those are all controlled with a Texas Instruments BeagleBone Black. So it's pretty great.
Okay, so that's better than a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino.
For this purpose, yes, it has, because it has more I/O. It
Cool.
has a lot more I/O, so you can control it more.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's better for industrial applications, I would say. Mark, I'm curious to know, what was the very first computer that your fingers tickled the keyboard of?
Computer, I'm going to say it was a Apple II Plus clone called a Franklin Ace 1000.
Yes, I know this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only because I
And,
think of like 8-Bit Guy or somebody, maybe Adrian's Digital Basement, something like that. Yeah.
But so Apple II Plus operating system, and 5 1/4. Ultimately, got the 5 1/4 floppies, and had an old Anderson and Jacob acoustic modem. You used to put the handset on
Nice.
on the cups. I think that was 300 baud. So,
That's really awesome.
yeah.
I never actually touched one of
Good
those either.
times.
It'd be fun to see if you could still do modem communication today in that way. I'm sure you still could somehow. I mean, they're fax machines. They basically work off of a similar principle.
Yeah.
So now there's some great messages in the YouTube chat from Steve Anderson. My first is a Windows 7 laptop with 4 gigs of RAM and an AMD something like that. This thing is blocking me. An AMD 4A CPU or something like that. That's cool. Anna Rita says, Pentium 2 for my first computer that my mom got from her work, as they were throwing them out, so my mom got it for me until the monitor made a big boom and the monitor died. That's good times right there.
I've had a few of those.
I've never had one go boom. I had one just like pop, and then that was it, and it just like stopped.
I've got a story about that, if you guys want to hear it.
About a popping monitor?
No, it's actually a computer that went boom.
Was it one of those like Rifa caps that blew in the power supply?
No, it was something like that. It was an Apple II GS, and I got this computer for like $5 at a yard sale at one point, and I used it for years just for things. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, the thing was on fire. Literally, I turned it on and the thing caught fire.
Like
I did that once too.
actual fire, or just a lot of smoke?
No, it was actually a fire coming out of the case.
Wow.
Yeah, the power supply of mine one time started on fire.
Yeah, it was
Really?
the power supply,
Yeah.
but yeah, it started there after I did it post-autopsy.
I want to get myself a 2GS at some point in time. Like the Apple 2GS is right now it appears to be unobtainium for me. I know I can get it, but I don't want to spend the kind of eBay money that's out there. It's just kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, they're hard to find these days. I wish I still had that thing, but it was unsalvageable after I was done. After it was done with that fire. Luckily, I didn't catch any of the parts of any of the house on fire.
Yes. Well, surprisingly, it takes a while to actually light wood on fire, so that is a thing. I want to welcome. Wait, he disappeared. Eric was here, and then he was gone. But Adam Grubbs is here. So welcome, Adam. Nice to have you. I know you're having some fun this weekend. So I don't.
I am.
Yeah. Did you hear us talking about Apple II GSs and you just popped on? Because you sent me that picture earlier today.
Yeah.
So in the chat, Alec Mitchell says, me and my brother got a Spectrum 128K for Christmas, but my first PC was a 386 my mom got for college. That's very cool. Gecko DeLizard, which makes me think, do you run openSUSE? Says Amiga 500 in 1992. That's pretty cool. Leviticus says, my first computer is an Insight 386, 25 megahertz, and I still have it. LOL. That is awesome. Sounds like a Linux out loud to me. Anrita,
There was every bit of technology there. It was crazy. Go ahead, Tom.
Anrita says the Pentium 2, I had a huge power button that you could hear at 100 miles when you turned it on off. Yeah, I like those big chunky like switches. You kind of imagine the lights in the house dimming just a bit when you flip the switch. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. And Steve Anderson followed up on his laptop saying the A4 CPU is an APU, he believes. It probably was. So anyway, that's fun. So are you still at the was it the Midwest Gaming? No.
It's in Milwaukee. I live
okay.
in Madison, so it's like about an hour drive.
So
it's
okay.
Like no need to stay there.
Gotcha.
We left a little early because they have like an after party thing, but that's like an extra add-on, and I was like, I didn't buy that, so I guess I'll just head home.
I got you.
But I still got tomorrow though.
I think it would be fun to go to something like that. I've been to.
You would have a blast.
Would I? Yeah,
oh yeah, 100%.
The thing is that like when I get excited, I get very I embarrass the people around me. So I don't know.
I'm totally cool with that.
Okay. Are you?
I am on board with that. Every single thing there, all the computers, game consoles, arcade, pinball, everything is free play, unlimited. At any machine you can use.
That's awesome.
There's nothing there you can't just mess with. Awesome.
I would love to go to like something like a vintage computer fest or something gaming related and bring my Back to the Future pinball machine to it. I think
set it next to that DeLorean that was there.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Back to the Future DeLorean. That's lots of fun.
They go to Menards, as you pointed out. The guy so when I took that picture, the guy was still detailing it. He was still cleaning it and everything.
Okay.
Because it was like the preview night, and so he had all his cleaning supplies in the seat. It's like, well, Doc Brown shops at Menards, so
it makes sense. I mean, they have lots of stuff there. A surprising amount of things.
They have mattresses, yeah.
Do they? I didn't see that, but I believe it.
Yeah, there's everything there. It's the only place you can buy a drill, a mattress, a router, and M&Ms all in the same place.
And actually, I just went to Menards.
And I mean router as a network router.
Oh, I thought. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to correct that.
Yeah, I just bought 200 feet of direct bury water line to bring out here from Menards. I was just there yesterday, and about 600 square feet of flooring. I'm going to put some new flooring in as well. So
awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
In
this building.
That con had like just tons of stuff, man. My legs are destroyed.
Awesome.
Like my feet are destroyed. It's great, and I still got another day. It'll be awesome.
Be great. And then
they had tons of vendors with loads of games. Some cheap, some incredibly expensive. I was looking for a copy of Super Metroid, which I ended up getting, right? But all I wanted was the loose cartridge. And like people were like, "Well, I have a box copy." I'm like, "Okay, how much is it?" And they're like, "This one's $475." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't need $475 worth of cardboard things." Like,
yeah,
that's
for the right collector would like stuff like that.
But. Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But man, there's some high prices there. Yeah, like when it comes to like the box stuff, like the sealed, complete in box, all those things. But I'm like, man, I don't know who here has that money, but it ain't me.
Yep, for sure. I like a lot of that stuff, but I don't think I'm the best custodian of perfect boxes and things like that. Like that's not my bag. I'm not. That's got to go to somebody who's more responsible, a little bit more adult than myself. I have to.
Right. Like, I want to play the game. I don't want to look at it.
Right.
Like that's the way I see it. Like, give me like the most trashy cart for $5. As long as it plays, I'm happy. Right.
Yeah, it can be.
Give me one that says Kyle on the side because someone wanted to write their name. Like I'm totally fine with that. Right.
I'm the same way, Adam. A lot of times, But then again, yeah, I have like this box copy of The Sims Vacation right here. So I mean, I'm both.
But like the most expensive thing I bought was actually a copy of Super Metroid. And it's just the cartridge, mind you. And it was the only one that was the lowest price I could find, $65. So it's like even just the cartridge ain't cheap.
Yeah. After the show, I'm going to share with you with a piece of hardware I got that I think is really cool, but we can talk about that later. So, Eris, you did a twofer on the straw poll today. How'd that go?
Yes.
How'd it shake out?
Yes. I think this deserves credit for Vince, Sleepy Eye Vince. I think he suggested what kind of setting you preferred for tap to click on touchpad, and I just added the other poll pretty much and
Okay.
said what kind of mode you prefer for scrolling. Just as a, like you said, like a twin one.
Mhm.
Let me refresh one last time. So for the question, do you prefer tap to click to be enabled on your touchpad settings? 60% said yes. 23 said no. 10% said Tux Penguin, and 6% said no preference. And that's for tap to click. And for which mode of scrolling do you prefer for your touchpad? 50% said reverse scrolling, traditional Windows way, and 35% said natural scrolling, traditional Mac way. 12% said Tux Penguin, and 4% said no preference. As far as replies, I got the following replies. It's too much for my brain to make the mental adjustment each time I switch from mouse to touchpad and back, so down is down no matter what I'm using. I also tap to click to save the buttons. Hashtag save the buttons. It's Throwback Thursday. Wink. I guess I never paid much attention to this. I just scroll and the window contents move. I don't know what to select for the poll. Maybe Tux Penguin. And the next reply is, nice poll. I do like tap to click, and I like natural scrolling better. I did it at first, but now I prefer it. And the last reply was tap to click for sure. Vote it.
Yeah, I'm a tap to click guy. Who else here is a tap to click guy?
Me.
Yeah.
But also,
Not
I'm a
I.
save the buttons kind of guy too, because I got buttons on my laptop.
Yeah. I cannot stand tap to click personally.
I can do tap to click on a Windows box, but on the Mac, I press to click because the touchpad, like you can click anywhere. So less errors that way.
Okay.
I always disable tap to click, and then I put the touchpad at the maximum speed. And if it's not fast enough, I even go extra insensitive. So I go quickly that way, and that's why I don't have tap to click, because if I had it, then I would be clicking all over the place, just moving along the screen.
Yeah, I find I use the tap to click. There's certain things that I only use the buttons if I need to like certain things like if I'm video editing with the touchpad, which I hate doing, but sometimes I do that like if I'm editing away from home, and I find that I prefer the tap to click for most functions, but if I'm doing anything that's like really, if I have to interact, I can't use the touchpad for anything that's like really serious. It's just more consumption type stuff. What about the scrolling, Eris? Which way do you scroll? The natural way or the unnatural way?
The unnatural idea. That's kind of funny because I thought about putting for the poll also standard scrolling, because it was the standard until Apple came up with this natural scrolling mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just go with whatever's on, but basically, but I don't have a Mac, so it doesn't go by default with the natural scrolling, the Mac way. I think I can kind of see their point, because it kind of does like do like a kind of like a metaphor of you actually moving the paper up and down with your touchpad. But I don't know, I got so used to it, I don't even think about it. But on the other hand, on the mouse, I don't even see how that's even natural scrolling for the scroll wheel if you make it the opposite way, the way the Mac has it either.
So I use on the scroll wheel, with the mouse, I have that set to so it's like the scroll wheel has always been. But the touchpad is the natural way. That's how I prefer that. You can have them that way in Plasma. You can decide what you want.
Yeah. I do natural scrolling on my laptop touchpad because I can't stand the other way. I can't up for down and down for up. That's the way I do it.
Oh, I sometimes will have issues with my MacBook Pro, and I like be trying to scroll and it's unresponsive, or it'll just be dumb for whatever reason. So I'm getting used to it. I don't know if I just need to change my settings or what.
Yeah. It's always fun to explore. See if you can. I have I started doing the natural scrolling because I got this wireless Microsoft keyboard, and it was naturally it was the opposite of what the setting was. Like it just translated the 2-finger scroll thing to be natural, and but if you plug it into a computer, like with a touchpad, it would be the opposite of whatever you set on the touchpad. It's just kind of weird. Anyway, so since using that, I've actually liked using the natural scroll. So it was never from having a Mac, but just because I tried it and I liked it. Jinda, how do you like to scroll, or do you not use a touchpad?
I try to avoid using a touchpad as much as possible.
Are you one of those people that the touchpad hates?
Yeah, sorry.
It kind of had that look about you. I was thinking that the touchpad you and the touchpad were probably at odds with one another.
Yeah, me and our.
Yeah.
Oh well, what are you gonna do?
Not use the touchpad.
Yeah.
How about you, Mark? Are you a touchpad?
I am not a touchpad guy,
Yeah.
and I find myself even doing this sometimes on the touchpad. 2 fingers. No, I've got to have it. I've got to have a mouse, and if it means an extra little dongle hanging out the side of the computer, I got to have my mouse. So
I got you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Does anybody else want to comment on that? I don't know if anyone else had anything they want to say. I don't know what. Feel free.
I was gonna say that I actually like the touchpad. I think it's lighter. If as long as you're not doing nothing that requires a lot of precision, like graphics work or like gaming, I think it's fine for like anything office related, like maybe working on a spreadsheet or something like that. I find it fine, or just clicking around. And I do realize that I use it differently though. I think for most people, I think when they move the cursor around in the touchpad, they use their index finger. I started using my middle finger, and that's what I used to move around, and then the index, and then the ring finger to click on the buttons if I have buttons, and that way I can go really quickly. Because if you go with your index finger, it seems really slow that way, and that's how I use the touchpad.
I'm gonna try that.
And then if I do use a touchpad and I have the buttons also underneath it, maybe that's called a trackpad. I don't know. Anyways, when it's got the buttons underneath, I'll use that before I'll use the tap to click.
Okay. Yeah. So on the touchpad I have one, it's a glass surface, the top of it. I really like that. I don't want to use anything but glass surface topped touchpads now. Maybe that's what you're missing out on, Jinda. You probably still wouldn't get along. Never mind. But it's also, but it has buttons above, and if you push on the touchpad, it does click too. It does have a tactile click to it. There are different ways you can use it, and they all work great. It also has a little I can't remember what they're called, like the little between the G, H, and B buttons, the little button there to move the mouse around.
The track point.
Track point. There we go. I can't remember what it's called. But I don't have a middle click button on this machine, so I can't use the trackpad to scroll rapidly, which that was neat on my Dell. I had a middle mouse button there.
Sometimes they tell you to use both buttons as a middle click.
Doesn't work.
I don't know if your machine does that. Doesn't work
there.
It
will work for middle click, but it won't work for scrolling with the track thing.
I
button.
think that depends on your driver too, right? Doesn't it? If you have like an advanced driver that it could have that rocket something, I forget what it's called, something rocket something, rocket scrolling or something.
Yeah, it could be.
The way you talking about you hold down the middle button and then you slide the cursor up or down and it moves quickly or slower depending on how much you moved it up or down. Is that what I'm?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, it doesn't whether I do like the middle area of the touchpad or with both buttons together, it doesn't do like a actual middle click does. So that's all right. It's a bit of a it's a digital tear for my eye, but that's okay. I have the glass touchpad, whatever it's called now. What are we calling it? Touchpad? Yeah, touchpad. I'm all confused now.
Now, is that a add-on or did it come in the device?
That's what it was. It's an EliteBook 840 G7, and it was the first glass touchpad I've ever used, and I think it's absolutely the best. Like I don't, it's the best touchpad I've ever used. Maybe I'm sure Apple's probably had it for like the last 10 years, and I've just been missing out. Adam would know.
You have been missing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like the giant touchpads that you get on Apple products. That is nice. It's not enough for me to buy an Apple product, but I do think that it's a larger surface is better, unless you have sloppy wrists.
EliteBooks are sexy though.
Yeah, they are.
It takes some getting used to, though.
But the big touchpad. I know that like when I let my daughter type things on my computer, she very often her wrists will hit the touchpad, and then she'll start typing in a different area. So that's because I don't have it set to disable the touchpad when you start typing or whatever. Well, all right. That was a fun poll, or fun set of polls. Nice twofer, Eris. I like this. You're changing it up. You're confusing everybody. It's great, and I like being confused. I like for everybody else to be confused like me. All right, well, it's time to muddle our way through the Linux news. And as always, a big thank you to Michael This Week in Linux for mixing up a great flight of topics, or rather, I just stole a few from him. So, but first, Rick, you have a suggestion about how the FDA cleared NeuroRPM for an Apple Watch app to monitor daily symptoms. So, can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's a FDA article. There was an FDA article. There's an article about the FDA clearing the Apple Watch AI application that they have on there.
Okay.
That will monitor specific symptoms of Parkinson's. And I was curious about that because, of course, I have Parkinson's, so of course I'm curious. So anyway, yeah, it's an AI function in there. And it monitoring symptoms you're not aware of that much, like bradykinesia, which is slowest movement, tremors, and other features of Parkinson's are common there. And so it was interesting in that regard. And apparently they're supposed to come out with it later this year or next year, or early next year on the market. So yeah, AI has been growing in interest in a lot of people of late, it seems like.
I think it's a little bit of a buzzword though too, a little bit. But I think you're right though.
Yeah, it is.
Proper application of an amount of intelligence you can put into a device, especially to monitor and track things like this. And I don't know what like like my dad had Parkinson's, and it kind of came on slowly. Then all of a sudden, with him, like there's we were kind of in denial for a while. He's been gone for a while now. But I wonder something like this, like how this can help, or is it just for like data collection? I didn't read the article, so I'm asking you.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking it's basically for tracking your symptoms so that you can be more proactive on dealing with them more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. I wonder then what you can do with that data then, like if you have.
Yeah, I don't know if you can get transferred to a doctor so your doctor sees it, that kind of thing. Which might, so.
Yeah, it's interesting.
How bad off you are.
It makes for a good discussion of like these like athletic bands or smart watches or whatever. Being used to monitor people for apparently there's ways that they can like sniff out problems that you might be
Right.
developing ahead of time. And I wonder, is that a good thing or is that I
It's
don't know
kind
if
of two-sided sword
Yeah.
there, I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's some benefit in living in denial, I think. Or the possibility of being like misdiagnosed with something. I think is
Yeah.
also a possibility. Like it might think you have something when you don't really have something, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about all that.
Well, the data collection is kind of an important part of Parkinson's because they collect a lot of data on people, a lot of data so far.
Hmm.
Over they had studies and things like that where you can put in information into a database and track symptoms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of important because then they can see patterns and things like that in the data. And they
Right.
can be more predictive in what somebody's going to have. People, you have a gene, some people have genes that tend them toward Parkinson's. You know that ahead of time you can, you can take preemptive measures to make sure it doesn't get it or something like that.
I don't know if they have any. I mean, I don't know enough about it at this point. Like if they have preventative things they can do or things that delay the onset of symptoms or whatever, or if it's just one of those things that's just going to, if it gets you, it gets you, and
Well,
I don't know.
most people get Parkinson's. They don't know why they get it, but it's probably due to something like pesticides or in the water or something like that. I can point to things back about 20 years ago. 20 years is generally the time frame they say from the first symptoms. And 20 years before that, you did some that maybe caused you to get Parkinson's. So like 20 years before my first symptoms, I was drinking well water, which 60% of people who drink well water get Parkinson's.
Well, I suppose if you drink the chlorinated water from the city, you get a different disease. So it's maybe pick your poison.
You get things growing out your head and stuff like that.
Your arteries harden and then you get a heart attack. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't even know
Yeah.
anymore. I don't know what to say. I'm not
Just
gonna.
just out of curiosity, was that 60% of people who drink well water get Parkinson's, or 60% of people who have Parkinson's drink well water?
I think it was a second.
I think it's first way.
Oh, okay.
So you have that 60% chance that if you drink well water, you're done. That's kind of rough.
It probably depends on
Yeah.
where. I mean, like different areas have different
Yeah.
things.
Right.
Mhm.
That would be the other
Something.
40%, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I can't say.
There could be some genetic involved too, because if you're you're in a small town where there's a well, then there could be a lot of family members in that town, and that's why there's a high percentage of
And
Parkinson's.
some jerk kid who peed in it.
That's probably what it is. Who's that survival
So-
guy that said he could drink pee?
Well,
Alive?
actually, I think it's mainly due to the pesticides that run off in your water and it goes down into the well water.
That could be too.
That's very.
Yeah.
That would make a lot of sense. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
my
who
thoughts
knows?
on the app is that I think it's very it almost seems like too good to be true for a researcher, the way that they can like have anybody like sign up for this study or this app, and then they can slowly gather all this information easily, like non-invasively, just have a watch that you wear. Pretty much every people wear a watch, something that's not out of the ordinary. But then at the same time, you think about all this data. Where does it go?
Yeah.
Who keeps this data? Is this data gonna haunt you later? Like, let's say it starts tracking you and it says that you might have symptoms of starting Parkinson's. Now, is that gonna follow you? Is the future? Is that gonna be like evidence against you in case you want to get insurance? Is your insurance gonna go up higher because of that? It kind of reminds me of the way for like car insurance. You can get one of those machines that you put in the car, and then it gauges how like quickly you brake, and if you brake too often or something, and it tracks the computer, and then based on that they give you like a discount. But then I think you can't take that out afterwards. I think
Yeah.
you just have to drive with it the whole time.
Oh yeah, and
So
when we did it.
Yeah, I would never do that just because then they would know how badly I drive. And I don't want people to know that. You know, my insurance would probably go up. It wouldn't go down
Yeah.
having something like that.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of potential here, but I don't know what's happening with the data, and that seems kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one side of me like wants to believe in the goodness of people and that it would be used for good and for actual clinical studies and trying to get objective, beneficial to all, you know, outputs from that. But I've generated a lot more distrust for such organizations as opposed to trust. So I don't know. I would like us to all want to help one another. I think that's what we should be doing. But there's just a lot of bad actors out there. I just don't know. I want to believe in the goodness of people though. I really do.
Mhm.
As long as maybe it's open sourced.
Hmm. Open source data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for medical, they can't really do that
Yeah. The
because
HIPAA laws.
yeah, because of HIPAA laws and all that stuff. However, if they're selling that data to other people, they're technically violating HIPAA anyway. So
Yeah.
Well, it depends. That's to protect the individual patient. So if you're tying that data to an actual person, then that's different than if you have
Just
data that's
anonymous
disconnected
data.
from the person. Yeah. So
Right.
I used to recertify on my HIPAA certification. Like it was an annual thing I had to do. So it's pretty clear cut as to what you can and cannot do and what's considered a violation. And then also the terms. That also is something else. If you can actually sign away certain things to organizations and whatnot, if you so choose.
I was wondering that basically the AI part of it, if people have a problem with that. I mean, Elon Musk seems to think it's already too late for us to escape AI.
Well,
Some people are saying it suddenly comes in the next 5 years, he says.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a danger with any. There can be a danger with anything. I mean, no tool is absent of its dangers, and AI has been around a long time. I feel like it's kind of a buzzword right now, and people are like, oh, AI, it's the new crypto. But I don't know that I mean, I remember when the Descent game came out in the early '90s, they advertised the robots fighting against you had artificial intelligence and would respond accordingly. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, even then it was like, oh, that's kind of scary. But the I don't know that like using an artificial intelligence to monitor something, it depends on how much power you give it ultimately and what it does with that. So yeah, and Daniel Yant says I had a Radio Shack book on AI back in the 1980s. So I mean, AI is not a new thing by any stretch.
But
It's
then
just
again,
a lot
there's
better
some
now.
pretty unethical AIs out there. I can name a couple. And a couple of them are not appropriate to be mentioned here. So,
but anything can be unethical. It's all in how you use it. I mean, realistically, you can use a hammer unethically or illegally. It's not the tool itself that's the problem. It's the person who wields the tool it's the problem.
Yeah. Or sometimes the person who designs the tool.
Sure, but I'm saying it's all in how you utilize it. It's not the tool is neither good nor bad. Most of the time, it's how you use the tool that can be good or bad.
Bad actor gets a hold of somebody can be problematic.
Yeah, I mean, I can use my car ethically and morally. I can also use my car unethically and immorally. You know, it can be a projectile, I don't know how many thousands of pound it is. I should know what the curve weight is. Let's just say it can be a 4,000 pound projectile traveling at 90 miles an hour into something. I mean, you can do some bad things with a car. It's not the car's fault. It's the person who's wielding the car. So, or a screwdriver.
Technology's always been like that, I think.
Yeah, since the very first machines, it's been a problem. All right, some other fun news in Linux. Who here is a fan of the Raspberry Pi? Everybody? Awesome. I even if the hands didn't go up, I'm just going to assume everyone's a fan of the Raspberry Pi. Well, there is a new Raspberry Pi OS that came out. Yeah, it's a couple weeks old now. They have a new video driver that's supported in there now. The MSDR i3 video driver support's been added. So I think there's been some other stuff that's been that's been pushed up to the kernel. I don't know if anybody read this. I read it someplace and I can't remember where now. But so some of the GPU functions are now going to be available to all the Linux out there. So it also supports a new touchscreen driver and added to the screen resolution tool, which I think is cool. Some minor UI tweaks. Also, GTK message dialogues shown in right justified buttons, some bug fixes, and more bug fixes, some more translations added, and they fixed the RPI imager with the hidden SSID configuration as well. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. Linux kernel 5.15.84. I think it's an LTS kernel, if I'm not mistaken. But you can check out those release
Yeah.
notes.
Yes, that's, I believe, is the current Debian kernel.
It is. I think it's probably based on Debian.
Yeah, because I believe that Raspberry Pi is based on Debian. Yeah.
Yeah, Pi OS, yeah. Is anybody here quick to install the latest Raspberry Pi OS on their Pis? Or what are you doing with your Pis, I guess? You have Jinda? What's it? You give me.
Yeah, I already tried it when it came out. I didn't really notice much of a difference on this update. I mean, there was stuff that was changed, of course, there always is, but it was still smooth and silk like I always like it, just to try it out for fun.
I use most of my Pis headless right now. Most of those things aren't really going to help me there, unless the GPU can be used for processing things. Swift, do you have any Raspberry Pis?
Yeah, I have 5 of them.
You have 5 of them. Man, you must be rich.
Two Pod 3 Bs, and I have 2 Pod Zeros. Yeah, and yeah, two Pod 3s and 3 Pod Zeros.
Okay.
Or maybe I have 3 Pod 3s and 2 Pod Zeros. I don't remember.
Either way, that's awesome. What kind of things do you do with the Pi Zeros?
Right now, I don't do anything. They're just sitting in my drawer. I used to use them when I first got them, and I would use them because I would tether from my phone to get the internet because I didn't have internet.
That's cool.
But now I don't. I have so many devices now. I don't really have anything to really do it anymore.
The Pi Zero W. Adam's probably gonna say I have a Mr. Show and Tell. It's always right by my desk because I'm always doing something. I print off this little case here. It's really, really nice. Gonna put it in there and snap it shut. And then
yeah.
I like that.
I like it a lot.
I like that.
Although I think I'm having some trouble with it because it doesn't. Maybe it's a user error, but when I plug it in, it doesn't light up or do anything. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's burnt out.
Because one of my Pi 3s needs some love. I think one of the pins broke or something. The pins is bent or something. Just doesn't really work too well.
I'll have to look into that. Always have something.
But you know, one of the cool things I've done with the Pi, I actually installed Blender on there.
Really?
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And that was, I just remember seeing the little animation kind of come on, but I didn't really do nothing with it. It just was just to see if I could do it.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 Pis. One is just a media box that I use to plug into my TV for consuming media, and the other one is a RetroArch box that I use to emulate N64, the SNES, the NES, and the GameCube. At least right now.
It's funny you mentioned that because what happened, you just jogged my memory. Once I was using a Raspberry Pi 3 for the same purpose that you would use a Roku for. So once I got a Roku, it was like, oh, well, this is so much better and smoother. I'll just use this. Okay, great.
Roku is a little bit smoother, but honestly, I've got the Raspberry Pi, and I really don't need, and I don't see the the need to justify the expense for the Roku if I have something that works just fine for me.
Oh, I know what you mean. Mine was given to me, so that's
Yeah.
what makes that a little easier.
hmm I mean, they're not that expensive, but I'm just like, why spend the money when I have a solution already?
Yeah. Now, if I could figure out how to hack it, with Linux and stuff, do stuff with it, then that would be interesting. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing that with an older one.
But yeah, I want to try and emulate more systems on that Raspberry Pi though.
Okay.
I think these small form factor computers are fun for a lot of things, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've got a Pi too.
A
I
Pi
use
2?
my Masus basically for testing stuff, basically. Like
What?
whenever I have a distro review or something like that, it's
Mhm.
on Pi. I can use my Pi to review those.
Oh, okay. That's great. At the is it a Pi 4 then? I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a Pi 400 actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great machine.
Yeah, keyboard and everything, nice.
Kind of reminiscent of the computers of the 80s, I would say.
Yeah.
And yes,
Yeah.
Anna, everyone has a Pi. Everyone, you got a Pi, you got a Pi, you got a Pi.
I got a piece of the pie.
Yep. I hope those
I
things
just-
get easier to come by again. I have another
Yeah,
project.
I was
I'd like to
gonna
do with one.
say. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say they're hard to come by these days. I've been wanting to get a couple more, but I haven't been able to get a hold of any.
I have a Raspberry
remember
Pi
the
4
days-
8 gig sitting in a drawer doing nothing,
Really?
and there it shall stay.
Wow.
So I
Do
think
you still have your Pi rack, Nate?
I do. It's got one Pi hole in it. I want to use eventually I'll get around to doing it, but I want to set up another one as a weather station receiver so I can listen to like one of those like
Oh,
I can't remember who makes them now. I had it on my old house
okay.
and I left it on the old house, but it's like I didn't want to crawl up and take it. They can keep it. But it's one of those you can like go to Lowe's, you can pick them up. It's like an AccuRite weather or something like that, and it's a weather station, so it can tell you your wind speed, temperature, wind direction, give you your rainfall, all that information. And so there's a Raspberry Pi project you can take, and you have to do something so you can listen on the right frequency, the 900 megahertz something. I don't remember exactly the module for that. It would talk to that, and then I would take that information, I could spit it out then to my Home Assistant, and so Home Assistant would then know the weather conditions and everything else, like actual local weather conditions, not just from a whatever station out there. But anyway, yeah, that's a project I'd like to do, and I'd put that on the Pi rack because I'd put that thing on my. I have like a TV antenna thing. I don't use the TV antenna part of it, but it has like my cellular uplink dish on there that goes to the nearby cell tower, and then I have there's lots of space on that tower for other things, and I think that'd be fun to put like a weather station on that. Although I don't like when you get up above like 30 feet or so, I get a little bit skittish. I don't really like to be up that high on a ladder. The ladder just
I'm
kinda
not
shakes.
doing it.
Yeah, I should stop being a wussy puff and just do it. For selfishness' sake, I did want to share this that 'cause we like to talk about distributions out there. Another great distribution. Keep it to just like be waiting for. openSUSE Leap 15.4 reaches its beta build phase, so that is coming. This usually it's released around June, so it's kind of an early summer release. But the next Leap minor release 15.4 has entered its beta release phase, and users can begin testing the minor version to find bugs. So if you're into bug testing and you like openSUSE, join in on that. That's something I hope to be doing here fairly soon. So some of the packages that'll differ from the previous Leap of 15.3 is the XFCE 14.16 version will remain the same, but the version of Qt 5, Plasma, GNOME, Enlightenment, and other packages will also have newer versions. The 15.4 beta phase is expected to introduce running versions of Leap Micro 5.2. So it's kind of the immutable OS. I think the transition is going to make toward that. But Leap Micro is a modern lightweight operating system that is immutable and ideal for host container and virtualization workloads. It'll provide automated administration and patching. Leap Micro is well suited for decentralized computing environments and a microservice distribution for developers, distributed computing projects, and professionals. That's another one that you can test out as well. So they have
Mhm.
and they have a list on there of like most annoying bugs and everything else. If you want to check that out, that's pretty cool. So is anybody here excited about that besides me, or is it my the cheese that stands alone on that one?
Well, I was gonna say it's now a rolling release, Nate.
No, but there are definitely applications for static releases. I just don't like stale releases.
I like the stale releases.
That's fine.
They work.
Different strokes for different folks. If
Yep.
you're on newer hardware, they don't work. But if you run old hardware, it works quite well. So
Yeah. Well, my laptop's 12 years old, so yeah, it works just fine.
see, there you go.
Oof. That sounds like my T420. I use it as a desktop, so it's always connected to my TV. But yeah, that thing has random issues every now and again. So I prefer using the MacBook Pro.
Well, I think those old ThinkPads are forever young, as far as I'm concerned. Another bit of exciting news for the GNOME people who are the fans of the GNOME or GNOME or GNOME or however you want to call it. But GNOME 44 has been released. Did anybody get excited about this? I know Penguin, you probably won't because you won't see it for like another 3 or 4 years on Debian. But if
No, I'm on Ubuntu right now, so I'll see it. I'll see it next year.
Okay. So it's the Koala Lampure, is what they're calling it, Release 44. It brings a new grid view to the file chooser, which I think looks pretty cool.
It's Lumpur.
Lampur. Okay, well, thank you for correcting me. They have what I think is really neat about it is the device security settings page. I think is very cool. So like just seeing that it has a very commercial feel to it, and I would like to see something like this, like on Plasma. I don't maybe it exists. I don't know, but it doesn't exist by default. Not like this anyway. But it's a settings app that was released in GNOME 43, and they have received a major round of updates. This new version shows the device security status as the description, such as checks failed, checks passed, and protected. So it makes it panel much easier to understand. And I think like having that information very easily consumable, I think is fantastic. Now, Adam, I think last we talked you were using Plasma, but have you tried GNOME 44?
That's a negative.
That's negative, Ghost Rider. Anybody here tried GNOME 44?
I was gonna say
Not yet.
yeah, I haven't used it yet either, but I just did a search. Apparently, it is coming out with the April release of Ubuntu 2304.
Okay.
Again, that's not an LTS, but yeah, I usually like to do try the release candidates when they come out, and that'll be coming soon.
Yeah, but yeah, I probably won't get an update till 45. But yeah, but I'll have to try it in virtual machine soon. Do we know if any distros have packaged it yet?
Well, again, it says it's in the 2304 beta.
Well,
That's the only one.
yeah, I was talking about like Oats. Has Oats even packaged it yet?
I don't know. I didn't check into that yet. If Arch has it, you can probably get it in Tumbleweed, I'm guessing.
Okay,
Search.
I'll check.
I'm looking it up right now, Pang.
You can also just get it. There's a GNOME OS image if you'd like to try that. That's an option as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something else I think is really very cool, and I think this is it's a fantastic that the GNOME team is working on this, and I think I couldn't cheer more. Well, I guess I could cheer more. I should probably cheer more for this, but their accessibility menu, and they have it broken down real nicely. They have like a seeing, hearing, typing, pointing and clicking, and zoom. They actually have it broken down in different sections, and you can make they're split up to make it easier to navigate. The individual settings have also been improved to be cleaner, more consistent with the rest of the settings. So I think that's also very cool, and I think that's an area that I think I'm a huge proponent of, because there's some people who do have vision issues. I'm only probably a couple decades away from having vision issues myself. So if they can, if this can continue to be worked on, that's all the better for me to keep using it into my winter years of life. So
Okay, so Nate,
yes.
apparently on Arch, GNOME is still on the stable branch that is 43.1, but on the unstable repos, on the GNOME unstable repos, you can go to 44 because that is in testing right now. But if you care about stability, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, just giving
Arch
my
is
2 cents
unstable
there.
enough.
Yeah, it really is ping, and that's why I would suggest, if you don't want to blow your desktop to the waters, don't install the testing version of GNOME right now, unless you want to go.
I'd be doing it in a virtual machine anyway, so it won't matter.
Yeah, just
So,
wanted to
yeah,
exercise caution there.
yeah.
Yeah, don't run the unstable version of GNOME on a production machine. Just saying.
so GNOME 44 is available in Tumbleweed. It's already been tested, so you can. So if you want to not have to wait for Arch to catch up with Tumbleweed, you can go ahead and do that. Check it out.
I'll
there.
just pull down Tumbleweed then.
So that's cool. There's been work on Wayland too that's come down recently, but I don't have a news article on that. I just read that. Some more bug fixes. So Jeremy Smith says, are any of those settings standardized across desktop managers? Until there's a unified API, I'm not investing in any desktop environment. I don't know if there's a unified API. They all have different accessibility settings. I haven't checked on those in a while in Plasma, just because I haven't. I'm not sure when you say unified API, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. I mean, Plasma's is okay. It's not bad. I don't think you don't have quite as many options for accessibility in Plasma, but I don't think we're quite there yet for I don't know if anybody's working, at least that I heard of, toward a centralized or a centralized API. Would be nice. I just don't know how to go about that yet.
It would be nice, but the short answer is probably no. I'm not sure if I understand the question, but most desktop environments do their own thing. They don't unify their stuff. So,
Well,
and
the
that's
AppStream has been unified, so that's across everything now. AppStream is for handling applications and whatnot. So whether it's Snaps or Flatpak, whatever else, AppStream is still the same.
yeah. But I was just talking about how, because it looks like he was talking about desktop managers and desktop environments. But yeah, I'm not sure if there's any desktop API that's unified in all of them. I've never seen one.
Yeah, I don't know. I there's a lot there to. I mean, I'm not sure how you even build that. So then I'm curious to know. So, a DE agnostic programmability of accessibility and other settings. Now, I think it's probably by toolkit. I mean, there's probably a GTK way and there's probably a Qt way, but there's not one that works cross toolkits, my guess. But that's just my guess. I don't know for sure. So who here is excited about the Ubuntu Cinnamon the flavor status announcement? Has anyone read about that?
Yes, I'm actually very excited about it.
So Ubuntu Cinnamon is now part of the Ubuntu flavor family. Is anybody running that?
Not yet. I'm running actually Ubuntu Unity right now, but that's something that I'll try out real quick.
I know that in the past anyway, Eric Adams is a huge Cinnamon fan, and I can see why. It's really pretty cool how they've laid it all out. It has a very familiar feel to it. It's not overly complicated. Seems like a good starting place for maybe some people moving into Linux. I don't know. I can see.
I like it because it's easy. If somebody's coming from Windows and wants to try Linux, it is a very good starting point because everything is familiar for them. especially if they've used Windows 7.
Well, that's been a while now.
Mhm.
So Sean Gold says, I tried to install the daily build of Ubuntu Cinnamon in a virtual machine, but no luck in getting it to boot for some reason. Don't know. I would ask which
It
is,
could be anything.
yeah. I would ask like which is the using
Yeah.
The advantage
virtualizer.
there is that you are actually on the Ubuntu base, because
Mhm.
Linux Mint changes the Ubuntu base and it starts drifting from the actual base, and then you
Yeah.
could get to compatibility issues. And this is the reason why Linux Mint has time shift enabled or as an option, because in the past they had those warnings when you used to update, precisely because since the base is different for Linux Mint, an update from Ubuntu is only tested for Ubuntu. It's not tested for Linux Mint. So
Mhm.
there could be an issue between an update and whatever changes Linux Mint did to their own base. So the Ubuntu Cinnamon should be very close to Ubuntu.
Now Joshua, what's his last name here? Pisach? Page? I don't know. I'm not the best namer, reader, offer, but he used to be on Biddle some years back, and he would talk about his love for Cinnamon, and he was working on it so many years ago, and now he is the lead developer. That's pretty awesome. It's Swirls, so you can check out on. He has a posting on Twitter if you want to check that out.
Yeah, the Cinnamon, I used Cinnamon for quite a while back when I used Linux Mint. And also the nightly builds that they do, or daily builds.
Mhm.
Some of them they don't, or you have to just have a separate program booted up with. Might be what part of the issue is. I know because I did some testing on Peppermint, Raspberry Pi. I don't know how similar those are, but anyway.
Yeah, it's I wonder how many flavors are there now of Ubuntu at this point. Official flavors. I'm sure I could look it up. Maybe someone else can look it up.
I'm looking it up right now. There are 9 different flavors, including cinnamon.
So it all depends on what you consider a flavor, I think. Because okay, like if you go to Wikipedia, you have of course Kubuntu, Lubuntu, Ubuntu Core, which is that a flavor, or is that not a flavor? Ubuntu Budgie, Ubuntu Cinnamon, Ubuntu Kylin, Ubuntu Mate, Ubuntu Server. Now is Server like a flavor, or is that not a flavor? It's just Ubuntu. And
They
then
don't count it as a flavor. They count it as a different distribution release.
and then you have Ubuntu Studio, Ubuntu Unity, and Ubuntu. So if you just go by I guess the desktop ones is 1, 2, 3, 9 flavors.
There's probably countless derivatives of Ubuntu at this point.
Yes, there are.
I'm curious, as far as things that you run in your on your home. I don't know who here has like a home lab, things that they run locally for themselves. Does anybody here run Nextcloud?
I used to host one. I actually moved it into the cloud.
You moved your Nextcloud into the cloud, or you moved your stuff from Nextcloud to a cloud?
So I had a Nextcloud that I was self-hosting. I then created a Nextcloud within the cloud that I migrated to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I've done both.
So I guess you're still, but then you're still running Nextcloud then, or are you
Correct.
paying for it?
No, well, I mean paying for the hosting, but like the server, but I'm the one administering the box.
I've done both too, cloud and at home. I want to say the cloud I ran for a longer time.
It almost seems to have become like a kind of platform to host different things. Like before, it was just kind of when I started playing with initially, I used it for just file synchronization and calendar synchronization, stuff like that. But now it seems like it's loaded up with all kinds of. You can do a lot of things with it, like a lot of collaboration tools, groupware, Office, something called Nextcloud Talk, so audio, video conferencing, and so forth. I don't know how it'd be, but I don't know. It's amazing, like how much more it is now than what it was. Do you think things like this are more the future on where things will go? I'm using a lot of things, great descriptors, right? Do you see, for a while there, I think, Adam, you brought this up, when the cloud was a big thing, everyone moved things into the cloud, and then they started doing hybrid cloud because they moved too much into the cloud. I think it was Adam, I'm pretty sure you were the one that talked about this. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a thing where a lot of companies were like, "Hey, we got to do this cloud thing," and they went whole hog, and they're like, "Whoa, it's expensive. Let's kind of pare this back a bit."
Let's move some of this back. Do you think that there's a lot? I'm trying to word this correctly. Cost benefit analysis, running your own cloud service like Nextcloud for a small office, home office, or just using Google Office when it's largely free, but then again, you don't have control of your data. Like, what's that tipping point when you're better off having something versus using somebody else's thing? Or do you think it
Reliability.
depends?
That's uptime, reliability. That's the main thing. Because, like, especially if you have other users, like family members and things that need to access their stuff, if you can't guarantee 100%, near 100% uptime, right, then you may as well just have it in, Office 365 or Google Drive or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moment, like, you can't guarantee uptime, they're going to get frustrated at you. Which is easier? They're frustrated at a nameless company, or they're frustrated at you, right? And I guess as somebody who, as a day job, has to worry about that kind of thing, I really don't worry about that kind of thing at home too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, if I could somehow like build a solution in my own stuff, my own home, whatever, that I could guarantee uptime on, yeah, obviously that's a preferred thing, right? But I can't, right? Residential internet is not as robust as a corporate, load balanced and fault tolerant internet. Disks might die, power supplies might go, like so many different things can happen that you're way less prepared for at home. And especially if you have loved ones who are worried about data loss, like that's a big thing. And so I think if it's really important that they have access to their files and that they aren't fine with losing their files, like if like those two things, then sure, put it in Google Drive, Office 365, whatever. But yeah, I don't think like Nextcloud is really great for that kind of thing. And I unless you have professional infrastructure and stuff, and like solid professional infrastructure and support, I don't even think Nextcloud's that great for like a small office environment either. Like the cost is really just not there. Like the cost to buy the hardware, maintain the hardware, have somebody who on staff who is paid enough to care about that hardware and that software, who knows enough about Linux and how to keep this thing running and various other things, backup solutions, etc. Like suddenly the cost of a small business Microsoft 365 subscription makes a lot more sense.
So where's the tipping point? Like, when is it? So I worked for a corporation.
How important is your data? That's really it. If your data is not anywhere near important, Nextcloud all day. If your data is important, put it in something else. That's really the tipping point.
And I'm with you, Adam. I like the flexibility to install Nextcloud and TrueNAS, and I like being able to do that as home projects and such. But when it comes to my family photos and file storage, I go out and purchase, I purchase a commercial NAS. I use QNAP, but Synology or any of those would be great. And yeah, besides running the firmware patches, I want something that I've paid for that kind of sits there and maintains itself. If I'm screwing around with VMs and such, and my Nextcloud is right there too, I don't want to even have the chance that maybe I click on something and hit delete, right? So, of course, that's what backups are for. But even beyond that, right? I don't want to. I've had a QNAP storage for 5, 6, 7 years. Think about all the patching that I would have had to and maintenance I would have had to do on Nextcloud, and you do need to keep all of it up, make sure that it's secure and such. I mean, sure, you got to do that with a commercial product too, but there's a little bit where I just kind of want to be hands off and don't touch my critical family photos, pictures of my kids and such.
So I stopped using Nextcloud when a couple reasons. One, I broke it, and then I started using SyncThing about the same time, and so I have my data. Like, to me, all my critical data is encapsulated in a SyncThing directory, one of the main SyncThing directories that I use. There's a few of them, and so I would have to have a tornado come through, which they don't do where I live. Maybe I shouldn't say these things, because then one will. But I would have to have 2 different buildings get flattened to lose all my data, if that makes any sense. Like, it'd have to be really catastrophic. So I guess I care about my data as much as I care about a photo album, maybe. But I guess I would just be really, really sad if I lost it. I don't think I'd be devastated. All my records I have backed up, encrypted wise, like onto. I'm sure it could be cracked, no problem, by the right brute force, whatever. But I do have pushed up to. I'm using Google Drive for those things as well, so it's backed up. Those critical things are backed up in Google Drive as well. I don't know how. It's not much data though. It's just a few gig of data. It's not really that much in the vast configuration of things. But it's like all my records, my stuff, the important bits. So I don't know.
But it's also about data. It's also about reliability and uptime too. Like, if it's just you and you're just you're the one, if it's broke, you're fixing it anyway, so you're not
Right.
using it. But if you ever have to have someone else's stuff, suddenly you're on the hook for any little problem they might have.
Right.
And that, with Nextcloud, self-hosting, that can really become a pain. Because what happens, if they do lose a bit of data, not because the whole thing crashes, but just because Nextcloud takes a crap,
Mm-hmm.
and they lost data. Now they're frustrated, or they can't connect because the certificate expired, or any number of stupid thing that you have to now maintain. And the person who you basically, by having them on your thing, are implicitly saying, I will support this thing that you are using. Now you have second job of Nextcloud administrator.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to administrate a Nextcloud service for my family,
Right.
outside me and my kids and what I the what I'm of my
Yeah,
small
and they're
domain.
subservient to you at that point anyway, right?
Right. I think that'd be fine.
But you were positing the example of a small home, small office, home office kind of
Right.
thing, and that implies other users. That's a problem. Unless you
Right.
have somebody who's specifically paid and talented enough to do that, and you're taking on that cost, right? So let's say that engineer type person, maybe we'll say on the low end, he's making 65, 50 to 55 to 65 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather pay that or Microsoft Office 365, right?
I think it depends on how many employees I have at that point.
You could have 3 and it would still it wouldn't even matter. That's the reason why so many companies do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why so many companies use Google Workspace or Microsoft 365, because at any level of business, it makes more sense financially and it makes more sense from an administration perspective. It is a cost benefit analysis that it makes sense almost entirely across the board to do that. It's really kind of a nuts thing. Does it mean vendor lock-in? Yeah, sure. Does it mean people might have to be forced to use certain operating systems or equipment? Sure. But that's a small cost for even a small to big company.
I think it probably then falls on how important data sovereignty is. I guess using some of the Nextcloud's terminology, like what your cost benefits as far as
Right.
it's like
But the cost of data sovereignty is way higher.
right.
Right. That's what I'm
So-
saying. Like you have to maintain the equipment, the software, you have to have the people, you have to have sort of the security people to handle that. You have like there's so much to just having data sovereignty of any kind that for most people, most even small, even medium businesses, it makes no sense. Like data sovereignty just goes out the window at that point.
I do want to jump in and say though, I really appreciate the Nextcloud project and how
Oh,
they
yeah.
did make the clients available on in the browser and for all the mobile devices and such, and then being able to run it as your own server. I mean, that's huge for us, right? And I don't know if it is closed source or open source, but again, I just like the fact that we're able to try these things out and get experience with them from a technology perspective. But yeah, then like Adam's saying, I usually will back off if it gets beyond something critical or more users.
Right. Don't take my opinion on this matter as like a damning of Nextcloud's efforts or anything. It's a wonderful product. I use it, right? It's wonderful. But I just your question was like, what's the cutoff point? And it's a pretty quick cutoff point when it comes to cost benefit analysis for a lot of things.
I was actually thinking about this. Like I looked into getting one of the like I do have a paid, like I spend like $1.99 for a terabyte. No, what is it, 100 gigabytes? Not very much storage on Google Drive. So I think if I had, I'm just thinking about this like running some numbers in my head based on like the things that I do. Like the reason I don't use Google Drive very much is because it's too expensive for the amount of data I have. So I think, and again, I'm not an IT professional. I think depending on the kind of data that you are managing would largely dictate whether on premises or off premises is affordable. Probably for a basic admin tasks, I think you're probably right. Using Google's or Microsoft's offerings probably the better, or even like a managed. Maybe there's a managed like Nextcloud offering out there. Like if you can pay somebody else to manage it for you, I'm sure they have that. I don't know why they wouldn't.
Yeah, there's managed network and Nextcloud
Yeah.
hosting, but then again, you're giving up that data sovereignty because there's an implicit trust between you and the vendor, and now you're back to where you were with Microsoft and Google.
But let me just from my manufacturing background, the amount of CAD data that you generate and you have to keep, and then especially when it's like the continual integration of things for assemblies and whatnot, you're better off locally hosting that. But then redundancies, I'm not really sure about. Eris, what do you have to say?
I was just gonna ask if anybody knows like the contrast between OwnCloud and Nextcloud as far as the features, like experience.
OwnCloud is great too. I think it's very similar to Nextcloud. I never did a bake off on the two, but I've run both. Yeah.
So OwnCloud was the OG, and then Nextcloud broke off. There was something that happened, and the person who started OwnCloud also started Nextcloud because there's some sort of a disagreement in direction. So I don't know. I'm not really sure, like the side by side comparison. Which one has the more the better offering? I have no idea.
Hey Nate, I want to go back to your topic around data replicates or in storage costs.
Mm-hmm.
I use one of the things you may want to look at is I use Amazon Glacier for my offsite, one of my offsite backups, right? So I have things that sync, and I have they sync between servers and such, and I keep all that. But I also synchronize one copy into I use Dropbox, and I also synchronize another copy into Amazon Glacier. And I'll tell you, it is pennies for storage. In fact, I used to get this Amazon bill monthly, and every once in a while it would be like $1.13. I'm like, why the heck am I getting charged $1.13? And I'm so cheap. I went and canceled all my subscriptions with Amazon because they didn't know what it was, and it was my backups.
Oh.
And so anyway, $1.13 for a month, and I'm like, oh wait, I need that, and I turned it back on. But the other thing is, Glacier is not. There's not a lot of. There's no interfaces into that really. There's just a couple. So your hands are kind of off of it. And so that means you can't be screwing with it and deleting it. So it's really a great option to have a replicate of data. I don't know if anyone else uses Glacier, but that may be something to look at.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah, I don't use it personally though.
So Alec Mitchell in the chat says Amazon Glacier is a good solution. Dirty cheap. I mean, that sounds great to me. Dirty cheap. I think my problem there is I don't know how much I trust Amazon. So I guess if I sent my backups to them like in an encrypted vault, I guess, like where I encrypted it
Right.
myself and then put it up there, I'd feel better about that. But I don't know that.
Exactly.
I
guess
don't,
ultimately what this all boils down to is a matter of personal trust, which is kind of hard for like anyone else to really gauge what the value of that is to you, right? Because like for me, if it's open source, it's less trustful. I want it to be as closed as possible. I don't want to know what's going on. Possible deniability. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but like no, seriously, like it is a personal thing, right? Like
Yeah.
some people are like hardcore on like I need to control my data. To hell with the man, right? And then there are other people who are like, it's cheap, I'll take it.
Right.
Right. And then any spectrum in between that. And like that's really like a personal thing. It's really kind of hard to make those objective choices.
Yeah,
I can just point to trends, I guess.
I have a little bit of a tinfoil hat. Not it's not like multi-layered tinfoil, but it's a little bit. It's like, kind of like you can't see it inside my ball cap, when I wear it when I'm out and about. But and so I don't want to put everything out there on the cloud because I feel like once it leaves my network, I lose control of it. So I guess for me, I'm not really sure. There are things I'm okay with being like storing out there. Like there are certain critical things which is encrypted that I have stored out there that I'm okay with because it's not a huge thing. But then I guess I kind of almost feel like none of the data I really have is all that worth it. Or like anything that's obviously anything I put on cubiclenate.com, that's all open and anyone can take it. I don't care. And those are my notes. Those are important. That's why I put them out there so people can use those notes. But like my password manager, that's encrypted. And I use Bitwarden for that. So that's trusting somebody else. That's a cloud service, technically speaking, right?
Yes, yes, that is stored off site on a cloud.
Right. So I'm trusting a cloud service. I'm paying for that because I do want that. To me, that's important. Those are important things because that has connection to the other things that allow my life to function outside of my network. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I mean, I think that if I had a business where I did a lot of, had other lots of machines and designers, and it was in like a small manufacturing, I'd probably keep it all local. But I would feel comfortable administering something like that. So that's probably just me. And then I would force one of my kids to learn how to do it. So if I get hit by a bus or I got run over by an elevator or something, then they could take care of it. But
Me, I just have 3 users on my Nextcloud, and that's me and my parents. And they just use it as a backup. They don't use it for anything else. And it's really just a very, very simple implementation. Basically, every week it just pushes everything to my server. That's it.
So speaking of server applications, has anyone here used like it's called like a CRM or like customer, like a resource management? I can't remember what it's called now. Like where if you have, yes,
Customer relationship management.
yeah, customer relationship manager. Yeah, is that something like so if you work on a project of some kind, or even whoever the customer is, you can like build these like linked files and whatnot. Is there something that you use that's maybe self-hosted, Mark?
They do have those products. I I haven't used one recently that was self-hosted. In my day job, I use Salesforce every day, and that is like, you know, the biggest of the big CRMs, right? But that's something that if I were to do something for that, like for a small medium business, you know, something, you know, like my own LLC or something, I'd probably go with like a Zoho or QuickBooks or something. But larger than that, where you need a server, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what product to use.
Ulfnick said, he put in the chat, Sweet CRM is one. I'm looking at it right now instead of looking at your faces. And it says,
Yeah,
number
don't
one.
quote me on that.
Okay.
I had to do some research a while back to find a suitable CRM software for clients. Ultimately, they decided to go with a proprietary solution, so that didn't reach fruition. But I believe, and this, you know, don't quote me, but I think it's the best FOSS option that I could find.
Okay.
So you'd want to put in your own research, but that would be, you know, my grist for the mill.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to write some things down here.
Now I just need customers.
Exactly.
Well, actually, it's not just customers necessarily. It's like a project management tool that you can have multiple users use essentially. So like if you're
Mhm.
if you're building something a little more complex, you can use
Yeah.
something like that for all kinds of things. So the people involved,
Mhm.
the things, you know, and then the tasks assigned to different aspects of it.
Yeah.
So I was looking for something
Yeah,
like that for another thing I'm noodling around. I'm always noodling around something. I'll probably never actually get anything done because I just keep noodling.
Well, a lot of people use the proprietary solutions just because they want the professional support. A couple of organizations I'm available for, what do they use? It's not Microsoft, it's the other one. What is it called?
No
Dang.
idea. Sugar CRM was
Yeah.
offered by Alec Mitchell.
hmm But
I know QuickBooks has got QuickBooks Online. It does, I believe they do CRM because it's all integrated with invoicing.
I
and
think
such.
that's it. I think
Yeah.
that's what they use. Or no, it's Sugar CRM. That's right. Alec Mixel, Sugar. Yeah, that might be it too. I gotta look at it later, but it's one of those things. I just push a button and it signs me in. I just set it and forget it type things. But yeah, but a lot of people. It all depends. Do you want to support it yourself, or do you want someone else to help with that support? And a lot of people don't want to do it themselves because it's just so complex to do it themselves. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something to look at, and that's why I like doing Linux Saloon, because somebody's gonna have experience in something that I can learn from. That's interesting. Sugar CRM. Oh, and Wolfnick, you got another one. Sweet CRM.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I believe Sweet CRM is a fork of Sugar CRM,
Okay.
and I can't remember why, but I'm sure they had a good reason. So you might want to look into
It's-
that. It might
it's
be on the
based-
wiki. Yeah.
Based on the
Fork that
last
into
open
sour
source.
CRM.
Okay, so it was a fork to the last open source Sugar CRM release. That's what it is. That's another one to look into. Yeah, I'll look
Good
into that
reason.
myself. Yep, that is a good reason. Yeah, that's for selfish reasons, I would like to look into something like that. Very cool. And thank you.
Do any of you guys use ServiceNow at work?
No, what is that?
I've used it before, but not right now.
Okay, I was just asking.
Oh, Eris,
I
we
can
have.
give you something that's kind of random.
Yes,
if
I
you
love
like.
that. Fire away.
Yeah, we touched a bit on SBCs. It wasn't quite this topic, but there's a lot of manufacturers out there and I've always found it difficult just to get a general picture of what's available. So I started a list on the TuxDigital forum, and it's supposed to be a kind of a buffet. So you can click through all the different links, and it allows you to discover all the different types of SBCs and their various different models that are available. It's not supposed to be exhaustive. It's just the links you need to get the general sense of what all the models and brands are. So if this is something that might help you, take a look at it. But better yet, if you see anything missing, if you post a link or give me one somehow or post it in chat, I'll be able to add it, and that'll be able to help other people out. So highly recommend it, and I'll post a link in chat for you guys.
I was going to say, do you have a link so I can check it out in the immediate?
Yeah, that helps. Yeah. There you go. It's link in YouTube chat and Zoom.
Excellent.
Yeah, I recently upgraded my router to a Banana Pi. That's been awesome. But yeah, trying to find what the options are for a router, it's like, dude, I really wish there was a list. So yeah, that's that was part of the motivation to start it.
That's interesting.
Is your Banana Pi, did that come with more than one NIC or just one?
It has well, let me take a look at it right now because I can't remember how many it has.
I saw that there are
5.
some SBCs that come with multiple NICs, which I think is important.
Yeah, it's really useful. And actually, I guess I could bridge this to the earlier conversation, and that was when it comes to hosting stuff in the cloud, there is the worry that obviously you're putting it on someone else's computer. So one of the things that you could do that I'm seeing people do more frequently, although I haven't done it yet and I really want to, but basically you get an SBC, plug it into your router, and you create a VPN tunnel between that SBC and your cloud host. So it'd just be a cheap $5 droplet, and it provides the web services for that cloud hosting from your SBC at home, except for the HTTPS certificate, let's say, that you're using is in your home. So say if the cloud provider hold the storage and they're looking through your files or whatever, this is tinfoil hat stuff, but anyway, if they did that, then they couldn't see anything because everything is at home, and and the encrypted tunnel via HTTPS goes straight into your house. So having a router with a lot of ports obviously is useful for if you wanted to do that, which is something I'm going to get into, but haven't started yet. It's another project.
Yeah,
I don't know if any of you guys have done anything like that.
I've been looking at other SBCs because the Raspberry Pi has been hard to get, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on any because I'm just not sure. But have you had any issues with the Banana Pi?
It's been literally perfect, but the reason why I haven't had issues is because I went on the OpenWRT website and I made damn sure that it's fully supported.
Okay.
And yeah, that's generally a lesson I've learned the hard way. If you're gonna get, say, an off-brand version of XYZ, yeah, check the support first. What operating system you intend to install on it. It is how have people gone on with it on the forums of that particular manufacturer or elsewhere, and if people haven't had issues doing, generally speaking, what you're looking to do, then it's a good idea. But otherwise, you want to be a bit careful, especially if it's using very new processors. Like Pine 64 recently came out with, I can't remember the name offhand. It's just this awesome processor. It's a lot better than the RK3399, which I think used to be their flagship, but nothing supports it yet. The manufacturers will give you an operating system that they've tweaked to make it work. But from what I hear, these operating systems tend to be stuck together, as quickly as possible. they don't support them, and they're usually not a good idea, but they will work, quote unquote. So yeah, you just want to be a bit careful. It's usually good to get one that's a few years old and that is supported. So
Right.
that's the recommendation there.
Yeah, I thought the Banana Pi was very close as far as like the CPU to the Raspberry Pi. So I thought the software would work from Raspberry Pi on it, but I maybe I misread. I thought there was one, maybe it was Orange Pi, something out there I thought was quite similar. No, the Orange Pi, especially the Orange Pi 800, that is a pretty compelling piece of kit, I would say. Maybe I should add that to your list.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I wish I knew more about it. Only so much money, only so much time. But
Right.
I think the main part is making sure it'll boot. So generally speaking, I think U-boot is currently the crowd favorite. But yeah, making sure it boots, knowing the process that other people have done to get it to work, and then you just follow the path well taken, I guess is the recommendation, and then it works for you.
All right, I added to that thread the Orange Pi 800. So I saw explaining computers. They had a gentleman there talked about the Orange Pi, and he seemed to have really liked it. So I really, that is one that I'd be interested in trying, the Orange Pi 800 specifically, because it's like the Pi 400 but with a little more power and an actual VGA port on it. So I like the idea of VGA and a full-size HDMI as opposed to a little micro HDMI. I think the micro HDMI is just too darn small. It also has 64 gigabytes of eMMC on it as well. So that I think is pretty cool. All right. So next week we have the application Appetizer. And so I need to
TBD.
yeah. That sounds, the way you say it, it sounds like it's something delicious. So I'm looking for maybe some kind of consensus. This always takes a while, which is why I'm transitioning to it now. But of some something that might be of interest to check out. One of the applications I suggested last time was something called Nirna. It's a incredibly useful sleep and suspend function found in consoles like the Nintendo Switch and Sony PlayStation to suspend your game. And it's something like that, but that's to run on Linux. So it can suspend applications like 3D renders, video encoding, software compilation, and whatnot. And then you can restart it back up. So I don't know if that's something that's of interest. There is a flat pack for it. You can also get it in the Microsoft Store for Windows. I wasn't sure if there's anything else out there that people thought was interesting or not. Welcome, Steve. I hope you wiped your face before after dinner before joining us.
Howdy.
This show got a lot better.
Awesome. Steve's here.
Why, thank you.
Hey, Steve.
What's up, gentlemen?
I
So-
am without internet, so I'm stuck on my phone right now.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Nate, does the application have to be open source for the Appetizer?
I would prefer open source, but it doesn't have to
Okay.
be necessarily. It's not strictly open source, and it's kind of.
Well, I was just thinking the Free Office has a new release that came out within the last couple of months, and actually it was working quite well. I was just seeing if anyone wanted to try that one as well as the Appetizer. But if you want open source, that's not the one for you because it's not open source.
I think Free Office is. I mean, there's Free Office is one, and there's another one that's similar, like WPS Office. I think.
WPS, yes.
Yeah.
Those are proprietary. Those both are proprietary, but yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean.
But I thought it was an
against it.
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
So that I think that's a fine suggestion. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
There's a couple others on the list here. No links though. I have to maybe look them up. But
Yeah, let me get that link for you, as I have it right here. Yeah, I am putting it in both chats.
all right, cool beans.
There we go.
So let's see. Draw IO desktop. Create and share diagrams.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, the new versions worked pretty well. some of the old versions were iffy, but this one's actually worked pretty well for me because I was just experimenting with it.
All right, let me look at that. Is there anything out there that anybody is like really excited to talk about, application-wise, that they've stumbled upon that's not too overly complex? Steve?
Actually, tonight while I was making dinner, so I downloaded a bunch of music from one of my latest favorite Scott Buckley that I'm playing on the stream and background music, and I was kind of retagging some things and adding album art, and actually I believe it's a GNOME. It's in a flat pack. It's just called Tagger. Very simple, but very very efficient. And I did all my stuff. You can select all your songs, and a lot of times the file name is different than the tag name, and you can just easily switch it to name the file after the tag or name the tag after the file, which you can do in a lot of MP3. But it was pretty simple and pretty efficient.
Yeah, actually, I do like tag. I was using it to tag a lot of my music that I have on my cloud service. It was actually quite efficient. I did it easy.
Yep.
In about 20 minutes, I've got about 50,000 songs.
Do you have a link for that, Steve?
I do. I have it right
because
here.
I downloaded it. Was in the Pop Shop on my Pop, so it's in the flat hub.
It's a flat hub right here. I just gave it to you guys.
So the other option is, since we are almost out of time here, we could do. Let's see what Eris thinks of this. We could do just another a potluck. Everyone bring your own application.
Okay.
Sounds good.
That sounds okay.
All right. So we're gonna have another application appetizer potluck. So everyone bring something cool that you haven't brought to the saloon before.
Okay.
And actually, what I'll do is the ones that were suggested, I'll put a couple on the list. So there's some things that people can try, and then we can come back. And so I'll generate that list after the fact, and we can just do but it's not an exhaustive list. So it'll be an application potluck. So you're gonna bring and talk about free office or easy to use music tag and metadata editor. See, I like that. It's very
Tagger.
interesting.
Yeah.
Tagger. Sounds like a last name.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So we'll do that. We're going to do an application appetizer potluck, our second potluck round. So it'll be bring whatever applications you want next week. We'll have a list of applications that people can try. And then you go through the list that'll be available. If you want something might be interesting to try out, try one of those and then talk about it. But there is no, that's not an exhaustive list. Pick out whichever one you like and we can go from there. All right, so next week, application appetizer potluck.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any suggestions, feel free to send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com, or you can tag it as a hashtag suggestions or whatever and make sure you say @CubicleNate or Eris or somebody to draw attention to it, and we can put it on the list. If you have any suggestions for distributions, applications, or topics, we'd love to. Trying to build as much as possible, and I had a bit of a backlog today anyway of things. So cool beans. There is a Linux Saloon calendar. You can go to linuxsaloon.com or cubiclenate.com/Linux Saloon. It's just a redirect anyway to get the calendar so you can see what's coming up. So if you are wondering about the times, if I have to shift it for work purposes or whatnot, it'll be on there. But it would only be a shifting of, I think at most maybe I shifted an hour early once before. But you can check that out, linuxsaloon.com. And yeah, awesome. So let's go ahead and call it last call now. Now, Rick, who he left, he's not a Linux guru, but he does some streams. So I know he has a YouTube channel, so check that out. He does Saturday. He'll do I think interviews. I think it's one a month right now, and he does some other stuff too. So not a Linux guru. He has a YouTube page. Steve, I got the notification that you are having a stream tomorrow morning.
That's
You-
the plan.
Are you
Mhm.
going to do good on that, or am I going to be waiting there in the room and then you never show up? Are you
I
going to
should
stand
be
me up
good on
tomorrow?
that.
Okay, so don't
Okay.
you're not going to stand me up tomorrow. That's good to know. Excellent.
That's not the plan, but
You know,
Is that like at 8:15, Steve?
yeah.
Okay.
well, show up early and try and get safe first. That's the goal. So show up
Yeah.
at 9 Eastern or 8 Central, wherever you are, and say first. I think that's the
Yeah.
goal.
We're in
One-
the same time zone, so
I got you. Mark, you have a fantastic group on Sundays that meet at 3 p.m. Eastern.
That's right. The Atlanta Linux enthusiasts meet every Sunday from 3 to 6 U.S. Eastern, and there's no set agenda. We typically it's just trying to help one another out with Linux topics and open source software. And yeah, anyone's welcome. We meet online. You can get more information at al.org, and our website is back up. And then there's a Sunday meeting there that you would join.
It is quite the brain trust of experts. So,
Some hobbyists, some people are do Linux in their day job. Some used to do Linux and Unix in their day job.
okay.
A lot of graybeards.
it's fun. 3D printing was a topic some time ago, and that was fun for me. But I like 3D printing and designing and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's
We do. Yeah, and we often talk about small board computers and little projects there. It kind of goes however whoever's got a question or and a topic.
good stuff right there. So tomorrow, 3 p.m., the Atlanta Linux Enthusiast Group. Check them out. ale.org. Every Sunday. Linux User Space, their next distro they're trying is Raspberry Pi OS. But please send in feedback. Leo is feeling lonely and he needs some of your feedback. So go ahead and make sure you send Leo and Dan some feedback at Linux User Space. They're having a feedback episode. So that would be awesome of you to do. Linux User Space. It's a great podcast.
Sure is. Gotta take care of Leo.
Yeah, you guys take
And
care of
Dan.
it. I'm on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. Our last episode we recorded was tips for new Linux users. No, wait a minute. That was last week. I'm editing the podcast right now, which is our favorite canceled projects, open source projects. So it was actually spurred by an article, and I'm pretty excited about about this one. You have a question, Penguin?
Oh, sorry, that was the wrong button.
Oh, okay.
Just ignore that.
All right, I'll ignore that, but it's too late now because I already acknowledged it.
Oh, well, that's fine.
I
But
have
I do have one thing.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
In 2 weeks, I'm going to be starting up my weekly streams again.
Okay.
Yeah,
Weekly
yeah, on
streams?
Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday at what time?
1:00 Central.
All right, and if you have a link, please share it. And then
Oh
make
yeah,
sure it
it'll
gets
it'll
into-
be on my channel here. Let me get that.
Oh, okay. All right. So you have a channel.
Yeah.
Penguin Revolution does a weekly stream, and what are your streams about?
Oh, I'm just gonna be doing like random stuff on stuff and having conversations with people. I'm thinking about doing some games in a little next week, starting up.
So random streams from Penguin Revolution. Can be about whatever he pulls out of his hat that day. Could be a game, could be something else.
Yep, exactly.
The Random Hat Podcast. I like it. I have a website called cubicleinate.com. I do things on there. I don't know if I shared with this is last. One of the things I recently published was I released a design for a clamp for conduit. So I ran some conduit in Cubicle Labs, and I needed something to clamp it up against the structural beam, and it's working great. In fact, I finished with a conduit running project today, and I got to run wire through it. And I'm gonna try not to electrocute myself. I'm excited about this.
I told you can do it.
I knew. You have the utmost faith and confidence in me all the time, Steve, and I really appreciate that. Although right now, Cubicle Labs is a mess for reasons, and I'm actually it's really aggravating me like a lot. I don't know what to do about it right now.
What diameter is your
Conduit?
your conduit? Yeah.
Yeah, 3/4 inch. So it's 3/4 inch PVC. I don't know what the schedule is on it, but it's just an electrical conduit. I was thinking about maybe I should have done like a metal conduit because you can actually take that apart, but I'm not sure why I'd want to take it apart. Because once you glue it together, the only way to change that is to cut it, right? I haven't actually had to change anything as such, but I do need to change how the way I mount it to the wall isn't straight. I was trying to line up to some other conduit, but that was a mistake. So I have to clean that up a little bit. But but I'll have a couple of 20 amp circuits going to the other side of the building, and then using Home Assistant, I'm going to set up a virtual 3-way switch for that over there as well. So that's kind of fun to have all these different nonsense things. Which if something happens to me, I don't know that anyone's going to know how to take care of the Home Assistant thing. So that could be a problem. I'll have to give my passwords to Adam so he can manage it remotely. Linux Saloon is part of the TuxDigital network. Check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com like Destination Linux, GameSphere, or This Week in Linux. I want to thank you all for your support. However you do it, being a part of this conversation in both the YouTube meeting as well as the Zoom meeting, as well as YouTube stream, and as well as for everyone for watching this show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved in making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yas.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, why does this pop up in my face? YouTube. I have a stink bug. Yeah, good times. My what?
Your Pyrac?
All right. So next week we have an application Appetizer. Wait, let me double check to make sure I'm not saying the wrong thing. Sure. Whatever this one is I just clicked on.
Okay.
What did I just click on here? How come I didn't see it?